Hey guys, Haz here at Shield K9, and I am live with Positive Parents. And today we are going to be having a discussion slash debate on our relative training philosophies and a challenge which I issued on the internet. So all that being said, I'm going to let Positive Parents introduce herself.
Hi, I'm I'm Kat. I own Positive Parents. We're in Ottawa, and I'm force free.
Okay. Say it with your chest, Kat.
Can any force free trainer say anything with their chest, though?
I don't know. I'm waiting. All right. Okay. Excellent. Anything else you want to say about socials, whatever?
No, I'm
Okay.
super
All
bad at
right.
socials.
All right. No worries. Okay. So obviously, not everybody maybe knows where this is coming from. So I'm going to kind of summarize how we got here as quickly as I can. And then we're going to kind of get into a back and forth. And I'm going to say some things. And, Kat will be welcome to rebut. And we can just go from there. So, oh, I lost Kat. God damn it. That was quick. What happened to her? Kat? Hello? Oh, she's back. We lost you.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened there. I hit the wrong button or something.
All right. Okay. The audience is asking if they're allowed to ask questions. No, not until the end. It's just going to get too cluttered. All right. Okay, guys. So let's talk about how we got here. So I'd say approximately 4 or 5 days ago, I made a statement online, a challenge, if you will, right, during one of my lives. And I said that no force-free trainer would take my challenge of going to the shelter, adopting 2 dogs. They can pick my dog, I'll pick their dog, right? And then training those dogs for 4 weeks, for 4 weeks, okay? And then after 4 weeks, going on a 30-minute off-leash walk in a busy urban environment, right? And I said that, and Kat here stood up and said that she wanted to do it. And we had a back and forth on Facebook, and we can get into that. So number one, let me first explain, because I know people are gonna be like, well, why does it have to be off leash, this, that, and everything else, right? So let me kind of preface what I'm saying here and kind of explain why I structured the challenge this way. So number one, the challenge takes place in the real world where our clients have to operate. I have 10,000 square feet of indoor dog training facility, and I have acres of outdoor fenced dog training space. My clients don't have that. Most of them live in the suburbs. I'll assume Kat's clients, for the most part, also live in the suburbs, and they live in an urban environment. They do not have large indoor and outdoor safe spaces where they can just kind of be by themselves with the dog. They have to be out in the real world. So I thought that in order to properly evaluate the challenge, evaluate relative training techniques and philosophies and the efficacy of those, we needed to go somewhere where the clients are. So that's number one. That's why I didn't even speak about, competition dog sport, specifically more complicated sports like, IGP or other bite sports where significant competing motivation is involved and you're dealing with high drive, really intense, powerful dogs. Because again, that's not an experience that the majority of clients, share. And it's not fair to really, again, evaluate. I think it's good to evaluate. It's kind of like I always say, I don't know if you agree with me. It's kind of like F1 racing. Like you can't really evaluate, the efficacy of a Toyota Corolla by looking at the race team, but the race team develops all the cutting edge the cutting edge technology that eventually makes it into those passenger cars. So that's the value of that cutting edge stuff, but it's not, again, an experience that I would say the average client shares, needs, etc. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't teach any suit sports, so you would already have an unfair advantage and it was in the sports competition anyway.
Exactly. And that's
I
why
would
I
not
don't
have stood up for that.
I don't even take it there. I don't think that's a fair thing. So what I did was I put the challenge in the real world. Now, that's where, like I said, most of our clients, they have skin in the game. And that's where we should have skin in the game. And I think that's the best place to judge, evaluate, and adjudicate relative training techniques and philosophies. Now, my other stipulation was that the dogs should be ones that have issues. As I'm sure you would agree, Kat, there are some dogs that are very easy. Just as there are some people that are very easy, there are some children that are very easy. And then, of course, there are some that have grades of difficult from all the way to like the worst case scenario to like moderate, minor difficulties, right? Now, there are many dogs similarly that are not so easy. And those are the dogs that more often than not people struggle with. The dogs with lower food drive, the dogs that are fearful, the dogs that are reactive, the dogs that are aggressive, the dogs that resource guard, you know, all the various common problems that we see. So I think if we're going to put two training techniques up against one another, two training philosophies fundamentally up against one another, we need to use dogs that have some level of difficulty involved. We can't just go and get well-bred border collies or whatever.
No, I understand.
That wouldn't make sense to me. And again, I'm trying to replicate the client experience as much as possible. And most of them, and some of them have really well-bred dogs that certainly do have problems, but a lot of them don't. They have like a dog from the shelter, a dog they got off of Kijiji or whatever. And that's the kind of dog that I think this should be done with. Would you agree?
For sure. Are we taking age of the dog into account?
Yes. So like, I wasn't proposing that we do this with a 10-year-old dog that maybe has like some physical limitations and so on and so forth. I'm proposing that we do this with dogs like, you know, not a puppy because like it doesn't really make sense, but not a older dog. Like I would go, I mean, realistically, I could go as high as 3 years old, you know, 2 years old. Like, I don't think it's a big deal between 3 and 2 or 2 and 1.
Not really.
Yeah. Okay. So good. Now I think, so let's go on where I think people misunderstand, right? I think the big misunderstanding that a lot of the force-free crowd has with what I say is I say the challenge needs to be off leash. And a lot of them are like, why does it need to be off leash? Right? Like what's the purpose of off leash? And then the aspersions of my ego and whatever else start coming into play. And that's just an ego trip and blah, blah, blah. But I actually have a very good reason why it needs to be off leash. So if we're actually going to evaluate properly the efficacy of relative training philosophy and technique, we need to stress test those beyond the minimum standards that most people have. That is fundamentally it. So for example, if the car you're driving, your Ford Focus, your Toyota, whatever it is, you might never go above 100 kilometers per hour. You might never rear end someone. You might never have to brake out of 120 kilometers per hour as hard as you can and make those tires screech. But they've done all that and more to your car to ensure that it can perform to a safe standard for you in the real world. Whether or not you ever need that performance is immaterial. They stress tested it to say, okay, this is the safest car. This is the most powerful car. This is the most, you know, this car turns the best. This car brakes the best, whatever it is, right? They stress test it far beyond anything you'll ever do. And I think dog training should be looked at the same way. Would you agree on that? Okay.
Yeah. Because
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the same thing, you know, like doing dogs is the same as a car, I guess, at the same.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I was going with that. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. So dog training, like I said, should be looked at the same way. Training methodology should be properly evaluated in the real world and stress tested under high levels of competing motivation, which can excite or make the dog nervous, because these are the things our clients will deal with on a regular basis when they're walking their dogs. So some of us have we all, I would assume, if you're dealing with the general public, you're going to have clients that have dogs that have very low, thin thresholds and excite extremely easily at anything. A car goes by fast, they're excited. They see another dog coming, they're excited. A kid screams, they're excited, right? Mm-hmm. And then we have clients that have dogs on the other end of the spectrum that everything scares the shit out of the dog. A sound, a person walking too closely, whatever, the dog gets scared. In either case, arousal is generated. What the dog does with the arousal obviously varies from subject to subject, but the arousal is there. And if we do not train the dogs and stress test the training under arousal, right, from various things that might excite or scare the dog, how can we know if the training is effective? Right? Like that's my perception of it. Like, because you hear it all the time. Man, I was walking my dog. Some lady lost control of her dog. Their dog ran up on mine. Right? My dog got scared. My dog got angry. There was a dog fight. My dog ran away. Right? Like, I don't know about you, but I deal with that all the time. Or the vice versa. You know, my dog, he saw this car go by and he saw it, and she gets dragged into the street, you know, by her Great Dane or whatever that wants to chase a car. Right? Yeah. So like, they're dealing with this stuff all the time. And if we're not testing our relative training philosophies with that stuff, how can we say this one works better than that one?
Well, we can't.
Exactly. So like, that's why, you know, I want to really stress test it. So now there are certainly dogs that you can take out on a leash and you can consistently engage them with food and play, and they will stay relatively close by and be easy to handle, be willing to do even some obedience, and they'll be relatively easy. And generally speaking, these are the dogs, you know, they take like a puppy class and you never see them again. They're easy peasy. Just like there are some people that are easy peasy. There are some kids that always get straight A's and they don't, you know, they're not sneaking out of class or whatever. They don't have a lot of, let's say, they don't have the desire to do the wrong thing. They love doing the right thing, and they get a lot of internal, intrinsic pleasure from that. But that's not the type of dog generally that we as trainers are going to be. I love it when I get them, but generally speaking, that's not what we get. We're getting the problem child, so to speak, because that's the one that people are motivated to actually train because it's making their life difficult. So when you take the leash off, and this is where I get to the leash, that is when you see the truth of the training. That is when you see what the dog will truly do when given a choice, right? That is when you'll see whether you have real impulse control or manufactured performative behavior that only works for a minute, you know, on Instagram or TikTok. When the leash is off, the dog has a choice. We're walking through the city. He's next to you. It's not even whether you want to flex that or not. For me, it's, does your training lead to this level of impulse control? Because for a dog to be able to do that, they need to have advanced impulse control, because you're going to run into a lot of shit, right? Whether
well, you have horses downtown and like lots of dogs, lots.
Exactly. Right. Like that's my thing. And that's why I'm like, okay, whether your client, and I have many clients, by the way, that they say, the only time I take the leash off is when I'm hiking in the woods. I will personally not do it in town. And I'm like totally fine with that. But I still say to them, your dog still needs to be able to do it, because that's the standard. And if you have that level of impulse control, then you'll be fine. Like, there'll never really be a situation that you run into where it's going to be like, oh man, like I need more. Right. Mm-hmm. But for me as a trainer now, this is a challenge of training philosophies. As trainers, we should all be able to do this. For me, it's the minimum standard, right? Is that you can walk your dog in a public place without a leash, without fear that your dog is going to molest somebody, molest another dog. You're going to lose them, whatever. You should be able to do that. And if you can't do that, my perception is that your training is flawed. Your training philosophy doesn't make sense to the dog, because if it did, why would your dog not be willing to do something that my dogs are willing to do? And then, you know, we have to ask ourselves, like, is this a problem now with the training philosophy? Does it not make sense to the dog? Because we're having a very different level of performance. And that's why I insist on the off-leash portion of the challenge, because I think that's where you can really see what was accomplished. Because, you know, I would say force-free trainers are the ones that speak about choice the most. Like, the dog should have a choice. The dog should be like, we should respect the dog's like, you know, autonomy. Independence. Yes, as autonomy, whatever. Right. And now he should show us what he chooses. And I agree. The dog should show us what he chooses. And the only way you can see that is when you take the leash off the dog. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So I'm glad we agree. Actually, I'm surprised. I thought you would have maybe some hangups there about the leashes coming off.
No, the only problem was I didn't want to do it like downtown in an on-leash specific area. So you probably have it in Toronto as well, but in Ottawa we have like a whole market we can use for the dogs.
I'm not aware of one in Toronto. I mean,
They're called open spaces, whatever that means.
well, I don't want to go to a dog park because I actually don't believe in dog parks, and I don't want, my dog, let's say, getting molested by other dogs because there's often.
Well, they're not supposed to interact with each other.
Okay, I'm unaware of such a place in Ottawa, but if it exists, then that sounds promising.
I'll send you a link.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and it's not like a fenced-in dog area that's specifically made for, like training and stuff. Like,
well, my thing is this. People are always. I'll never. The only people that really bitch to me about leash laws are force-free trainers, and I don't think it's because they have a yes. I don't think it's because they have a true respect and love for the law. I think it's because it's just a way of kind of copying out and saying, like, I don't want to walk my dog off leash. I've walked my dogs, like, I literally have documentary evidence of myself and numerous clients, students, etc., walking dogs off leash in busy urban areas. And people don't bother you because you're not bothering them. And the dogs are actually displaying a level of control that, I've literally walked off leash past bylaw enforcement officers and received compliments. So, it's not something that they're really going to bother you with. I will not be interested in doing this test anywhere except a heavy traffic area. I want to be in the real world. I want to be on sidewalks. I want cars whizzing by. I want people passing in close proximity. I want dogs. I want all of that. Because that is the only way to really say, okay, we're in the real world and we're doing this in the real world, right? Like I said, like for me, again, I don't actually, I'm not located in Toronto, so I'm not worried anyways that Toronto's going to get mad at me or anything. But obviously, I can tell you if we do it in Toronto, we're not going to be bothered. Maybe by homeless people, but not by actual law enforcement. So my thing is, like, it needs to be in the real world. It needs to be busy. I don't want to be in a sanitized environment. That's, for me, it's kind of like why I don't even use dog sport, right? I don't use dog sport as a realistic evaluation of this stuff because it's like dog sport is a sanitized environment. Yes, you have competing motivators with like the decoys and stuff like this, but it's still sanitized. The dog's used to going on the field. They have a high level of expectation of positive and negative reinforcement in that specific place, which is why they perform the way that they do there. That's not, again, realistic for our clients. Our clients are in the real world. Their dogs have varying levels of expectation of reinforcement. So for me, the dogs need to be really pushed in that place. And by push, I mean just like functional obedience. I don't mean like crazy stuff. Like, I don't care if the dog focus heels or regular heels or whatever, right? I want to see the real deal. So that's my thing. Like, I'm probably not going to want to go to a dog park. Not probably, definitely. I'm not going to a dog park. Yeah.
Sorry, it's not a dog. I'll just send you a link. It's not a dog park. It's just a place where dogs are passing through often.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I definitely want it to be real world proof because, if we're taking these dogs, I can't keep it personally. I know I can't keep it. So, even after the 4 weeks, it's going to start, being given to a family who's not going to continue,
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look, my hang up with you is this. This is my hang up with you, right? Like, when I said that, I didn't say specifically, but obviously I was referring to people in that space, in the dog training space, that are known individuals, right? And the reason why is not because I'm an elitist. The reason why is because we know who they are, and we know to some degree, obviously, based on what they put out, and they usually have a fairly decent track record of putting stuff out, what they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, quite frankly, you could be someone that, uses an e-collar. I don't know you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know you. So that was one of my biggest hangups is number one, I didn't know you, right? And then when I looked into your profile, right? When I looked on your profile, I clicked it and I just kind of took a quick look, see, maybe I missed some stuff. But like, I just didn't see like any videos like of like any real training. So like it would be one thing like if I hit your profile and it's like you're doing all this clicker training and all this type of stuff and disc dog, whatever, right? Like there'd be something there for me to be like, all right, this is what she does, like this is what she says, this is what she does. But I didn't see that, right? I didn't see any of that. So that was a big hang up for me. So what I said to you was, okay, like show me your reel. Show me your reel. Like give me like a video of you and your dog out in public. Cause like, don't get it twisted. Like we're going in public with rescue dogs for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So like for me, it's like, okay, show me your video. Because like with your personal dog, it should be easy, right? Like that's your personal dog. Like that's easy mode. You've had the dog for God knows how many years. So this is why I wanted to see a video of you so that, because you're an unknown person, like I wouldn't have asked let's say somebody who was a known individual, I wouldn't have said to like, a Zach George, yeah, buddy, like show me a video of your personal dog in public, because we all kind of know what he does regardless, right? We know who he is. So I don't know you, right? So like, that's why I wanted to see that. I wanted to see a video of you in public with your dog so that you could show me not even the whole thing, just show me like you can do some of it. Because I'll let you rebut this now, but I'll tell you why afterwards. But go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say like I should have more on my profile, but I can't upload all the raw footage because it's like, 40 minutes or something, and I'm just bad at videos.
Well, I would say to you, if you're a professional dog trainer, like, is this what you do for a living, or is it like a side gig?
No, this is what I do. I
So
know.
Come on. Like you gotta have video of your work. Like in this day and age, we all have a video camera in our pocket every day. Like, I don't understand why like there's no video of you doing this, even in this market that you speak of, like if you don't want to be in like the real world, like you say, okay, there's this market, it's like an open space, whatever, right? Is it where they have the Christmas market, by the way?
Downtown? Yeah, no, not on Spark Street.
Oh, okay. But either way, there's this place, so there should be like video of you like doing this off leash stuff, right?
That's fair. I've never needed to, because the videos I take, I send to the clients. And to be honest, I don't have a whole lot of time.
Okay. I mean, again, it just you can understand why. I'm sure I'm not being unreasonable to say, like this here's my suspicion, right? Here's my hang up. And quite frankly, I said it to you already. I'll say it again in public. My suspicion is this, right? And my perception is this. Now, the reason why I said nobody's going to take me up on it, right? And I'm speaking, of course, about, force-free, positive-only type trainers that have some level of, not necessarily even an Instagram following, but like a big business. They're doing like, they're doing a lot of volume, whatever else, right? Like McCann Dog Training close to me, for instance, right? The reason why they'll never do it is they have too much to lose. Right? Like if they do it, right? If they took me up on it and it didn't go well, which quite frankly, it's not going to, they're going to lose too much. Like even if they got 50 grand for just showing up, they wouldn't do it because they're going to lose hundreds of thousands over the long run, especially if, like I said, as I've posited and as I truly believe, things won't go well. My strong suspicion with you is that the reason you agreed to do it is not because you think you can actually like do it and win, in the sense of like have a dog that outperforms mine and like even comes close to it. I think you're just doing it for the exposure, and that you don't really like think it's like there's nothing for you really to lose. You know, that's kind of like my personal perception of what you're doing.
I mean, I get it. I don't know. I guess, like, to be honest, yeah, I guess, like, my confidence.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, look, like quite frankly, it's like, you know, you're saying, okay, I can do this. Like I want to do it. I'm taking you up on the challenge, but there's nothing that I can see like in what you're doing that would make me believe, okay, like you're like a legit challenger. Like there's actually like, you know, for the within the limitations of what force-free dog training is, there are trainers that obviously have made a name for themselves. They're quite good within that specific parameter. I've never said that there aren't. Those are the ones where I'd be like, okay, like if anyone can kind of like come close to pulling this off, right? That would be them. Like, and I would be able to see that, like just looking at some of their content or just being like, oh, like who is, you know, Susan Garrett, right? And I'm, you know, I hear Susan's a nice person. I don't know her, but like whatever, right? Like then I'd be like, oh, okay, like Susan Garrett, all right, like she's done some things, right? Like if anyone could do it, she's probably the only one that's going to come close. I still don't think she can do it, to be quite frank. But the reason why I'm saying like I don't think you can do it, and like I'm not interested in just doing it without it being a challenge, if you know what I'm saying. Like I know you're kind of thinking it's like a win-win. Like I'll show up, I'll get my name out there a little bit, you know. Worst case scenario, it's like it doesn't go super well, but whatever. And, you know, done. Like, you know, like Cat didn't lose anything. But that's not really what I'm after here. Like I'm after like a legitimate challenge. Like I'm after, like, do you truly believe, and if you do, all the power to you, do you truly believe that after 4 weeks, if we both go out, right? If we both go out with those dogs, the one you pick for me, the one I pick for you, that you're going to outperform my dog? Like, do you truly believe that in your heart of hearts?
okay. What does outperform mean?
I mean, your dog's going to stay with you. Your dog's not going to get loose. Your dog's not going to go off and self-satisfy and competing motivators. You know, your dog's going to somewhat perform all the behaviors. You know, like it's going to be like there. It's going to be close.
No, I'm pretty confident.
You are confident. Okay. So if you're confident, that means that you've already accomplished this before with your dog. I would assume with your personal dog, you've accomplished this.
Actually, oh, sorry, you meant the in public thing. Yes,
Yeah.
we have. Yes.
You have. So would I be crazy to say, show me, like literally get a friend, hold a camera, walk down the street with your dog? Would I be crazy to ask you to do that for me?
No.
No. Okay. So that's reasonable. Okay, great. So do me a favor before, and I'm totally willing to move forward with this challenge, right? But I want to see that. And I will post that video, the video link you send me, upload it to YouTube, whatever. I will post that video on the Facebook, and I'll be like, okay, Kat has shown me proof that she can do something approximating the test. Okay. Now I'm willing to move forward. We're both going to go. We're going to select dogs. We're going to go, you know, we're going to go and do this, right? Like that's what I'm looking for, a real challenge. Like I'm not looking to just kind of go and like, you know, spank somebody severely and then walk away. Like it's really not particularly interesting for me to do that. Right. So that's why I want, look, let me see if I can share this. Right. So something along the lines of mute that, right? Something along the line. You see the level of distraction that we have here? Oh, crap. What happened?
Oh,
Hold on. Where we go? I didn't share the screen. Let me add this screen here. I want to make it clear like what I'm after here, right? Like screen share screen. All right. Is that working now? Let's see. No, still not. Okay, there we go. Boom. All right. So like this is what, I'm after. This level of, hold on, let me find this level of distraction. This is one of my pro trainers down in Texas. This is the kind of like level of competing motivation that I expect the dog to perform under, right? Like this type of thing. Are you confident that, like, dog, people running by, all that stuff, like his dog's in a functional heel next to him, right? There's going to be some recalls. Like we're not just keeping the dogs next to us the whole time. Like we'll put them in downstays, we'll do some like functional stuff, where the dogs have to show some level of, the ability to stay, be away from us, and then come back to us, so on and so forth, right? Like I want dogs that can show this. Is that something that you're confident that you can do?
Yeah, but it's gonna have to wait. I have to do it after New Year's. Like,
well, yeah, obviously it's almost New Year's. I have a bunch of things that I need to do too, right? Like this is not like this is something where, like I'm making it clear what the criteria is, so no one can say that I'm like surprising anybody. Like I'm making it clear because like I want to be clear about like what the criteria is. I am even willing, right? Like, somebody said to me, and you know what? I don't disagree with them. Somebody said to me, look, you were saying no collars, no treats, whatever. I said, no. They said, no, that's not realistic because your clients can do all that, right? I said, okay, fair enough. Because if you're using the clients as things, so I'll say, look, you can use your treats. I don't care, right? Like you can, if you want to use treats in the process, like you can use them in the actual test. There will be no leash though, right? So you can use the treat if you want. I will use, I can use my e-collar if I want, or if you prefer the other way, we can go no treats, no e-collars, nothing. And we can just go naked dogs in the street. I don't care either way, right? Like it's completely up to you, but I'm even willing to extend that and say, yeah, okay. Like you can, if you really want, like you can use a treat. I don't care.
yeah, I mean, the original offer was no tools.
Okay. So if you want to go nothing, no treats, no toys, no collars, we're going to go that way. Okay. So here's what I want. And you've already kind of agreed that this is not an unreasonable ask, right? No,
definitely not.
I want to see you do some approximation of this with your dog in public. And if I can see that, then I'll know you're for real. Like you're for real. Like this is for real. And then we'll move forward. We'll go to a shelter. Maybe I'm going to Florida. So mid to late January, we'll go to a shelter and we'll get dogs.
That's perfect timing.
Okay. All right. So all I want is again, a leash-free video in a public place showing that you've got the ability to control your dog under high levels of distraction. Because quite frankly, like if you cut the leash off and the dog takes off on you and, goes and gets hurt, it won't be funny. Like people think it'll be funny. It actually really won't be funny. Like, so I really want to make sure that won't happen, that there's like enough there. Like I said, like I just don't know anything about you. Right. So like that there's enough there that that's not going to happen.
No, I totally get that. I think I have 2 or 3 off-leash recall videos.
I don't want an off-leash recall video where you put the dog in the bag. I want you to just show your dog, just go for a walk down the street. Like just go for a walk down the street. We all know you put the dog in the down, you recall them, they come running to you, give them a piece of food. Like that's fine. That's okay. But it's not really like the desired behavior that we're looking for here, right? Like the recall is a small part of it. It's the ability for your dog to just kind of hang with you as you go through the competing motivations, the distractions, so on and so forth. So post me a video of that. Put it in, you can, by all means, you can put it in that Facebook thread. I didn't delete it. It's right there, right? And yeah, like we can, and then I'll post it. I'll be like, all right, Kat has shown me that she has this basic ability. I feel comfortable now moving forward in this competition with her, where we now contrast and compare our training philosophies and execute them in the real world.
Yeah. Yeah, I found a lot more trainers can be like, do this, but it's not, they can't do the practical part. So I get just,
yeah, exactly.
The video is going to show that I'm not just talking about it, I can apply it.
Exactly. And it's your own personal dog, so it shouldn't be hard, right? Like you've had this dog for years, so it shouldn't be hard. If you can do like, like a 6-7 minute video, just walk your dog in public, show some obedience, show that the dog can stay with you without a leash, so on and so forth. Post the YouTube link. Then if it's good, we'll move forward. We'll go and select. And then just to be clear, this test, when we run it, is going to be fully videoed. Like I'm going to have my video guys there. We're going to video the whole damn thing, right? From the moment we start. It won't be an edited video because that wouldn't be fair, right? It'll be an unedited video of the entire test where we compare and contrast our training techniques. I'm thinking we'll probably kind of go like behavior by behavior, right? Where I'm like, all right, leash is off, boom, leash is off. All right, let's go for a walk down Yonge Street. All right, I'm going to drop my dog in a down, Cat. Boom, dog's in a down. I walk away from him. We'll kind of go behavior for behavior, kind of see where we end up. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Good?
I just can't do a focused heel with him.
You can do whatever you want.
We can do a heel. It's fine.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want, right? Like if you're gonna bang out a focus heel in 4 weeks, and it's going to stand up to all that competing motivation. More power to you. I think it'll look great.
That I'm not confident on doing a really good in 4 weeks.
Okay, all right. So all that being said, what is your fundamental issue with the way that I train? I can tell you what my issue is with the way you train, but you tell me first what your issue is with the way I train.
It's not even the tools.
Mm-hmm.
Like before I started getting all my certification in force free, I actually I did use e-collars and stuff, right?
Okay.
So it's not the tool use. I don't know. I never said you were a bad trainer.
See, Kat, this is my problem with you.
I'm sorry.
This is my problem with you. It doesn't seem like we really it kind of it seems like really that this is why I to be honest, believe that you're just kind of doing this for exposure. I don't believe you're really getting after it. If you were Miss Force Free, you would be you know what, Haz, you're a piece of shit. You use fear, pain, and violence to train dogs. I believe you're unfair to the dogs. I believe you I'm doing this for you. You prioritize your ego over the dog's welfare. And it's so it's so predictable. I can do it for them. Right. But this is what I would expect, what's going on with this. You tell me you use an e-collar, which is a bit of a red flag, to be honest with you. So now you're telling me you're force-free training. What's going on?
No, this was before I started doing my force-free training. So my biggest problem is having the tools on after. That doesn't make sense to me.
Why?
Well, because a lot of balance trainers are oh, it's a leash, it's good for recall, which it is. But then it gets to the point of do they have it on all day? Are they proofed without the tools? And if they are, then why use them?
Do you understand how reinforcement works?
Yes.
So if I was to give a dog a hot dog for sits, and let's say one day I said, and I variably reinforce the dog. Every so often I would ask him to sit. I would reward the dog with a hot dog. What would happen if one day I said, you know what? Screw you, Fido. No more hot dogs for you ever. Would that dog stop sitting? Eventually.
It shouldn't.
Why? Why would he not? Why would he sit when I asked him to forever and ever if he's never being reinforced ever again?
Well, you gave him the variable hot dogs. He understands the command.
Yes.
Right? So I am going to assume you've done it in different places.
Yes.
And you've given reinforcers throughout the day.
No, I said one day I'm just no more hot dogs ever. We're done. I will never positively reinforce that sit ever again. I will never do anything for that sit. I'll just tell the dog to sit. 2 weeks later, do I still have a sit?
You're with no reinforcers?
Yes.
No.
That's why you use the e-collar. The goal with the e-collar is performance. The goal is not, obviously, when we compete, like all these competitions that we do, we cannot use the e-collar. But the goal with the e-collar is a reinforcer. Just like your hot dogs are a reinforcer, but it's a reinforcer with way more scope than your hot dogs, right? Because it can do so many different things and it can be applied in so many different contexts. And it also gives you that insurance policy, right? The hot dogs, the reliance on the hot dogs, right? As you should know, is that the dog wants the hot dog. I want it, right? It's just like you could say to me, Haz, I got $100. I need you to come to Ottawa right now. And I would say, fuck you, Cat. I'm not coming to Ottawa. I don't need your $100. I'm not particularly motivated to have your $100. You could offer me $1,000. I still wouldn't do it. Right? Like there is, and just with positive reinforcement, and this is my problem with it, right? Is it's a fantastic way to teach a dog. And obviously I use it all the time, countless videos of me using it. But it cannot be the only thing that you have in the arsenal, because the dog is going to arrive at a place, and there are many dogs that arrive at this place very early, right? Where I'm not interested in your treats. Like I don't care right now. There's something over there that's better than what you've got. So why would the dog do for you, right, what you want the dog to always do, because you've positively and variably, let's say, reinforced the dog and even generalized it to multiple environments? Why would the dog always do what you want them to do?
That's assuming you're only giving it hot dogs.
Okay.
As a reward.
Play whatever reward. Like play, whatever.
Well, then you would just switch to a different reinforcer.
So you think that you can always out-reinforce the real world with a dog?
No, because you can't change genetics.
Okay, so do you see now what I'm saying here? Like, you said, okay, well, why do they need the e-collar afterwards, right? Or why should they use, like, for instance, a police officer that has their dog e-collar trained? Why would they ever? They're never competing. They're never going up for a competition. They always need their dog on the cutting edge of performance, right? They need the dog to be as reliable as possible, because literally if the dog is not, something bad could happen, right? For those of them that use their dogs in an advanced way. And believe me, I know there's many police officers that have really poorly trained dogs and they can never be cut off a leash or whatever, but that's another conversation. The point is that there are ones that use the e-collar. There's actually a lot of them, and they have the dog cut off leash and they're doing distance work with the dogs all the time, right? Why would they ever need to take the e-collar off? They wouldn't. And they can use it to variably reinforce the dog here and there, whether it's for a situation where the dog is non-compliant or a situation where they just actually want to reinforce the dog doing the thing that they're already doing, right? Fair enough. But same with your pet owner. Sally, who lives in the suburbs, walks her English Mastiff, and every so often, he sees something or whatever, he gets a little pulley. He needs to be reminded, hey, Bubbles, stop pulling, right? Now, Bubbles, the only reason Bubbles is pulling is because maybe the dog he hates is barking at him from the neighbor's fence, or whatever. There's something that's excited him, aroused him, interested him, and he can pull Sally around because she's 120 pounds and he's 140 pounds. Very common situation. I see this all the time, right? So he's going to need occasionally a reminder, hey, Bubbles, you can't pull me, right? You're going to kill us, right? You can't do it. Just like, Steve might have his dog off leash, and every so often, his dog, for whatever reason, has prey drive, whatever. Every so often, his dog's a little lazy on a recall. Now, he can ignore that and ignore it, and the dog will come back maybe 90% of the time because the dog's well trained. But at some point, the dog's going to say, screw your recall. There's a deer taking off, and that is way more interesting than any reinforcement you could possibly have for me. That is where the e-collar comes in as an insurance policy. And there's nothing that can offer the scope that an e-collar offers. That's my contention, right? Now you could say, okay, like there's other tools that you can use, like a combination of long lines and, prong collar, whatever. Those are all, for me, analog. They're crude. We're now in 2025, we have access to wireless training devices, right, that operate along the exact same lines. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? Why would we limit ourselves?
I like for the animal welfare.
What welfare? What's the best way for a dog to live?
Free.
The more freedom a dog has, the better they live, right? The more opportunities for that dog to be free, the better they live. So what is the actual impact to the welfare of the dog if you use an e-collar to variably reinforce the dog to do the right thing, while simultaneously providing the dog way more freedom, especially if you live, like I live in the country. I can cut my dogs loose all the time, whether they're trained or not. I'll be fine. I live on 16 acres here. But like the average person does not, and their dog is not going to have that opportunity. And for them to have that opportunity, the dog needs to have a high level of training, especially when it comes to dealing with competing motivators, so on and so forth. So if we agree that the best life a dog can lead is a free one, or one that has the most opportunities for freedom, then I fail to see what the problem with the e-collar is.
I just, they.
It's okay. We're on the internet. I get it. I do this all the time, so like, I'm not going to be an asshole and like grind you into the ground here, but this is my position, right? Like, this is my position. Now, some people say, okay, like the only alternative, like your only response should be, I can do with any dog exactly what you can do with an e-collar. And that is why you don't need to use the e-collar, because it is a completely needless device, because I can accomplish with my food and with my toys exactly what you accomplish, with the e-collar in combination with those things, because we all know that I use food and toys in great, in great amounts, right? So the only response you should have for me is, I can do it. I'm arguing both sides of this. But your only argument is literally that. Like, I can fuck you, Haz. I can do what you do with the e-collar with just my treats and my food. Would you agree on that, or do you not believe that?
Yeah.
So you agree? You think you can accomplish with the e-collar exactly what? Or sorry, you believe? Yes, with the treats. Okay, fair enough. So if you believe that, right, how do you again answer my question that the dog, especially many dogs that don't genetically have high levels of food and play drive, like a lot of the pets that we get in here, they're not working bred. Like, they're not bred to have high levels of food drive. They're not bred to have high levels of play. They'll play, they'll eat, but it's not anything in like great amounts like you would see with like a Belgian Malinois or a well-bred border collie or something like this, where they have like a really high desire to work with you. They have a high desire to eat and to play, and you can accomplish a lot of things with just exclusively that. Like, the average person that brings me their pet, like German Shepherd they bought on Kijiji, or their Rottweiler or whatever, it's like, bro, like, there's no food or toy you're going to have that's going to outcompete the real world. right? Like that the real world is undefeated. Even for the high drive working breeds, at some point, and this is as someone that owns like the best dogs, you know, the most well-bred working dogs, you know, even with those dogs, at some point, it's like they can know you have the food, the ball, whatever. At some point, they're going to be like, I get that all the time. I'm going to go kill this bunny real quick, right? I'll be back. Like, that's the reality. And there's a lot of people that don't even have close to that. And they're trying to take their dogs out. They're trying to cut their dog. You know, they can't even go for a walk in the woods because they know if their dog catches sight of a bunny, it's over. It's over. Like, he's chasing that bunny. And there's no amount of liver treats or ball that is going to convince him otherwise, regardless of how much you've conditioned it. Like, I don't know how we could even argue that knowing dogs the way we do.
The thing you're missing. Okay, so the thing you're missing is like you charge your markers, right? The only thing is our consequences are different, right? So our negative reinforcement would be like, you know, moving backwards. So if you get it to a point where you can use a marker that makes the dopamine go because they're eating a treat or playing or whatever, then you can like keep going until like it just is more more exciting to be with you or like listen to what you're saying.
Kat, when you watch me with my sport dogs, forget the pet dogs. When you watch me with my sport dogs, would you say that those dogs are in the highest state of arousal and excitement to be with me?
I don't think I've ever watched you play sport, like do sports.
Okay. Well, I don't even have. Let me pull up a video real quick of that. And I'm asking you this to make a point, right? Because like I'm well aware of dopamine and all of these things, and using the inherent drive of the dog, you know, and creating, you know, a lot of classically conditioned positive associations with behavior, so on and so forth. Let me just pull this up. And what you can accomplish with that, and the drive and the desire you can create in, you know, certain dogs to work through that. But let me find Mr. Chico. I only had pet stuff pulled up, but we will pull up some work, some dog sport work, because I want to show you what it is that, you know, a lot of people, it's funny because like a lot of people are always going on about how, you know, oh, you're just suppressing the dog. And it's like, really, if it, you know, the dog sport that I engage in, if you suppress the dog, you're going to lose a ton of points. Like you actually, if the dog looks suppressed, like it's an enormous point loss, right? You just cannot have that. So, you know what? This might have some good stuff. All right. We're going to pop this up real quick because I like talking about things that we can see. I don't like just talking. It's kind of like pointless. All right, we got this pulled up here. All right, boom. So let's share this quickly. Stop screen, share screen, share screen. Boom. And this was actually a video that I made. This isn't trial footage. We can watch trial footage, but I think that'll be boring for people. But this is like a video that I made about negative reinforcement, right? And this is me. You can actually see me using the collar in this video. This is a recent video that I made. And we're talking about negative reinforcement, but I'm actually showing it with one of my sport dogs. Now, Knowing dogs the way I'm sure you do, and watching the behavior of the dog, would you say that the dog, based on just this short moment here, oh crap, you didn't see it. Never mind. Sorry. I'm going to restart. Sorry, I thought it was up. There we go. We go back. Go right to the good stuff where we get started.
It is the most powerful Now, I'm going to show you what you can do with negative reinforcement. And I've been showing you guys actually for a very long time what you can do with negative reinforcement.
You see the dog.
So what I can do is I can excite behavior. Yep. And every time I touch the e-collar,
the ball, right?
You will see the lights go off. Okay. I'm not tickling him on a low level.
Now, I will assume that you know dogs enough to know what you're looking at in terms of like what that dog is. Like, would you agree that that's a high drive dog?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And you heard how he took the ball, right? Like it was like you heard the chomp, right? Like he went after that ball really hard, and like you could see the arousal in every fiber of his being. Would you agree with that? Like just as we were doing that short healing there.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can establish that I'm well aware of what dopamine is capable of doing and just how much around. And don't get me wrong, like I could take that dog right now. If he even thought I had a ball on me, I wouldn't need I don't need a collar. Like literally, I just foos and he's next to me and he'll focus heel for half an hour. He will, or until he's dead. Like he'll do it, right? That's not the normal dogs that my clients have. And I'm sure it's not the normal dogs that your clients have.
No.
That level of drive and desire, right? Now, even with him, he has so much like drive for a ball. Like if I threw a ball off a cliff, he'd probably jump. He probably would. Like his brain would just be so hyper-focused on the ball. He'd be in such a state of hyper-arousal. He wouldn't think until he was already falling off that cliff that he probably shouldn't have done that, right? Like he's the type of dog, if I drop the ball on the cement, he's going to break all his teeth getting after that ball, right? That's that level of, even with that level of drive, that dog will choose to self-satisfy at some point. He will, because he has that drive for the ball. He's going to have that drive for a bunny. He's going to have that drive for other things potentially, right? So how can I say, even with that dog, that I'll just train him with positive reinforcement. I'll train him with the ball. I'll train him with the food, all of that stuff. And I'll take him out in public. And I know for a fact that he's always going to pick me over everything else, such that I'll cut him loose. I'll risk his life and everything else, everybody else's safety, right? However that might impact their safety, because I know he's picking my ball, he's picking my treats. How does that make any kind of sense? Regardless of what work you've done. Like there's no way that you can, would you agree that if that dog's 100 feet away from me, he says no to your food, no to your ball, and decides to take off after something, that there's nothing I could do if he wasn't wearing an e-collar to stop him?
I mean, if he was trained, he wouldn't go after the thing in the first place.
Really? Dogs always do what you want them to do? Because they know what you want them to do?
Well, I mean, not like ESP or anything.
What do you mean ESP?
Sorry, like I'm not speaking English to the. No. That's not what I meant to say.
Like my contention is this, like a dog is not that smart. Like they're actually, people overestimate how smart they are. They're actually kind of pretty dumb, to be honest with you. But like a 3-year-old child and a dog, I'd say that they have a lot of similarities in their level of cognition, so on and so forth. I can explain to even a 7-year-old child, hey man, like you really can't do this. Like if you do this, it's dangerous. Don't do this, you know, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you're a parent, but anybody in these comments that, pardon?
Sorry, I said yeah.
Oh, okay. So then you should know. A child, a living human being that is intelligent, that is capable of higher levels of cognition, you can explain to them, hey, don't do this. It's dangerous. It's bad. They know they shouldn't do it. And yet what? They still, on a regular basis, do it. This is an accepted thing. We know this all through human history. Children, especially when they become young, like, you know, teenagers, so on and so forth, they're inherently disobedient. They will try things, even if they know it's the wrong thing, because they're doing what we call what? They're impulsive and they're self-satisfying. Even if they know they shouldn't do it, they still choose to do it, right? Because they're, especially when you're a child, you tend to be a little bit solipsistic, correct? Like you are a little bit self-centered because for you, like the world revolves around you. You're not able to kind of think through like more long-term consequences, so on and so forth. But I would argue the average child is certainly able to think through things a lot more than a dog can. And we can't even get it right with the kids. They'll still fuck it up. So how are you expecting an animal that eats kitty litter, right, to outperform a human child in terms of just using the application of positive reinforcement to ensure that they behave in a way that is safe, in a way that is reliable, et cetera, et cetera?
Okay. What, like, what's your backup if your e-collar fails in any of those situations?
I have never, actually, I lie. Multiple times I put the e-collar on, forgot to turn it on. And again, because I train in a balanced way, I have both. I have the e-collar or the negative reinforcement. Really, e-collar is like, you know, I don't even like saying it because like people think e-collar is training. It's not. E-collar is simply a tool of negative reinforcement. It's a tool of reinforcement. Like I can, obviously, as you can see in the videos, I use the e-collars for a lot more than fry to comply, as a lot of people like to say, right? But if my e-collar fails, I have already so much positive associations that I've created and negative associations that I've created that work concurrently together that I can do all the stuff that you see behind me without an e-collar. My dog still looks happy, upbeat, and performs all the behaviors. Now, obviously, and this is the funny thing, and this is where you learn a lot in dog sport, right? In dog sport, our goal is power, precision, and a dog that looks happy. If the dog looks sad, you're fucked. Like the dog can't look sad. Like he needs to look powerful. He needs to look happy. He needs to look active in everything that he does, which is why you see me train my dogs in such a high state of arousal, right, for the dog sport. But like, even we know, no matter how much drive and power and also negative reinforcement, corrections, whatever you want to call them, that you install in the dog, when you step on the field time and time again, there are going to be times when it goes really well, and there are going to be times when it does not go as well, because dogs are independent beings. As much as they rely on us, as much as they are designed to work with us, they're independent beings, and they make their own choices. And sometimes their choices do not go with our choices, regardless of how much training that you've put in, right? Just like no matter how much you talk to your kids, at some point, they're going to do what you told them not to do. We all know this as parents. Like we know it. It's going to happen, right? And if you don't have anything beyond do it and I'll give you candy, essentially, you're going to be much more limited than the person that says, do it, I'll give you something nice if you do it. And also there's a consequence if you don't do it, or there's a consequence to do it better. Right? Like, I don't know how you can refute that, but I'm interested to hear it.
Do you think force-free trainers don't have consequences?
I don't think negative punishment is enough of a consequence. And if you're truly force-free, you don't believe in anything other than that.
Well, no.
So
Because
you
it's
do believe
literally impossible.
What do you mean?
Like, I can't avoid it.
You can't avoid punishing your dog.
No. Like, you can't avoid using. We only use 3 of the 4 quadrants, but we can't use literally just R plus. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's the whole concept of force free. You don't say no. You don't inflict any kind of, if you're truly force free, you don't inflict any kind of aversive upon the dog. Now, of course, I see a lot of them a lot of you guys make exceptions for gentle leaders, and I don't care what you call it. It literally works across the spectrum of discomfort, right? It works on the pain spectrum.
I fully agree with you for that, and it's not really accepted by a lot of force-free trainers.
Okay, so if we can agree on that, what negative reinforcement are you using? Because negative reinforcement is the application of pressure that is then removed when the dog performs the desirable behavior, right? So like what are you using for negative reinforcement?
I mean, I guess nothing really. I would stop and I would reset and try again. But even that can be considered.
That would be at the most negative punishment, because you're not rewarding the dog, right? You're just withholding the reward and making the dog perform the behavior again until the dog gets it right. So that's negative punishment, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead.
I was going to say, like, the only things force-free trainers, like, not Zach George and not, like the little cult who's like, don't use a leash, don't use a collar, everything is aversive. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I mean, like, I'm trying to get to the bottom of these concepts. Like, I figured, like we talk about this challenge, and then we come on here and we'd discuss these concepts a little bit, and actually, instead of just talking at each other on Facebook via text, like, we could actually have like these discussions in person and put forward our relative positions and kind of maybe come to some level of we don't have to agree with each other, but like, have some level of like a discourse. My thing is that it's like, okay, you're saying, okay, well, it's impossible to train with everything except positive punishment. We can eliminate the positive punishment, which by the way, I don't agree, but like, that's your position. The e-collar is not a positive punisher. The e-collar is a negative reinforcer.
But that doesn't change anything in the force-free.
Well, you just said that you agree, and like, you guys use all 3 quadrants. You guys use 3 of the 4 quadrants, and I assumed that positive punishment was the one that you eliminated because that's the meanest one, right? So like, are you guys not? So are we off of negative reinforcement now? So negative reinforcement's no as well, or is it allowed?
Well, by the direct definition, yes. Just differently. So like, no fear, no pain, no harm. So no tools, no like yelling at the dog, but you can definitely use negative reinforcement.
So let me ask you this. Let's change things, because my contention is that outlook. Okay, so fear. What is fear? Fear is an entire spectrum, right? Fear can be do your homework, or if you don't do your homework and you come home and I found you didn't do your homework, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. That's like the extreme level of fear. Fear is do your homework, or you are going to fail in school and not accomplish anything in your life, and you're going to end up not going to post-secondary education, and you're going to end up working at McDonald's for the rest of your life. Those are both fear. But one could agree that one level of fear is far more extreme than the other, and we have all existed in one or both spectrums of those levels of fear, right? So why is fear completely an evil thing? Because fear is a spectrum. Why would fear be an evil thing in general?
Well, it's not.
but it says no fear. You said no fear. There can't be any fear.
Not training by fear.
But I just showed, I just
No.
literally.
I understand, but both of those would be unacceptable.
So it would be unacceptable to communicate to someone that there would be potentially, like, you would never say to your child, for instance, like, hey, like, if you don't do your homework, you're going to fail. And if you fail, these are the potential outcomes of failure. Like, there would be like, that would be unacceptable.
I mean, I've never done it to my kids.
You've never like communicated to them that failure in certain contexts has a consequence?
No.
Never. So like, hey, like, don't cross the road like without me, because if you cross the road without me, you get hit by a car, you die.
That is grim.
Like, you would never say that to your child. Like, hey, like, if you do this unsafe thing, or if you do this thing that's going to have adverse effects on your, like, life, these are the potential like negative consequences that may result from that. Like, I find that very difficult to believe, because it's like, how would you even have like a communication with them? Like, it can't just be like, everything's great all the time. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that's not how any of us communicate with even each other. Like, we always talk about like the good and the bad and what potential outcomes there could be. And of course, we're humans. We're capable of much more advanced thought. So we're able to like kind of foresee and forecast ahead. But like, I just, again, taking it to the children example, because like, I always like to take it there, because people are like, would you do that to your children? And I always like, yeah, 100% if they could outrun me. But like, that's my point. It's like, fear is a spectrum, and it's a great spectrum, and it exists. Why do you like, would you agree that fear is a biological necessity?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay. All right. So fear is a biological necessity. Like, it's actually inherent to us, and it gives us a level of, it gives us the ability to survive and to procreate and to move forward. But it also enables us to avoid that which is undesirable, right? And fear is a spectrum. Fear can be, oh crap, like, I don't want to lose my $20. Or fear could be, oh man, I don't want to die. Like, that's literally the spectrum of fear. Like, it can be from something so minor to something so major. So I know the word fear is like, oh my God, fear, right? But like, that's not the actual thing that is fear. So when you say, okay, there can't be any fear, but yet we're going to train these dogs to function reliably in the real world, but we're going to completely ignore this biological imperative that they have, this huge component of their biology that informs them about the world, right? Not completely, but it's part of the information gathering mechanisms that help them to avoid certain things, right? We're going to completely ignore that. That's not okay to use, but we are going to use just their pleasure centers. Like, how does that make any sense? Because pleasure cannot accomplish what fear can accomplish, and fear cannot accomplish what pleasure can accomplish.
Yeah. Okay. But a dog can be afraid.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's okay. We just have to give them like the tools to work through it. And if the fear is like a human approaching, right? You just wouldn't approach from that, say that the right side. So you'd approach by the left, right? Sure.
What happens if someone approaches on the wrong side in the real world because you're walking on the sidewalk and they don't give a fuck about your preferences with your dog, and they're just like legitimately they don't care even if they knew. And Fluffy gets scared.
I mean, you would teach them that it's okay to have, things pass by it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I'm speaking more towards like training in general. Okay. Like we get no fear, no pain, right? Just as fear is a spectrum, pain is a spectrum. And before people jump down my throat, we're focusing on these because these are the issues of contention, right? Like these are the contentious issues when we speak about balance training versus force-free training. We can all agree that pleasure, dopamine, these are fantastic things that we all use in training, well documented using it. Great. Like you have to use them. You know, they definitely are fantastic methods of teaching and so on and so forth. That's not what we're arguing. And I think oftentimes like this argument and this disparity is, well, you're all about fear and pain and I'm all about happiness and love. And it's like, that's really not what it is. You've got one side, right? Like us modern balance trainers, and that is a broad spectrum of people, belief in the use of positive, negative, positive punishment, negative punishment, all of the quadrants and more, because there's more to dog training than just the 4 quadrants of operant conditioning, right? We believe in using all of those things holistically in whatever our various training systems are to accomplish the various things from behavior modification to obedience or whatever else. The force-free positive only type trainers believe in the use of positive reinforcement and negative punishment. And I would assume we're going to eliminate now the negative reinforcement beyond the use of a leash, because if you're using a leash, I mean, I think we have to agree that that is negative reinforcement. Like the dog is attached. He has something tied around his neck like that. It can't not be negative reinforcement to some degree. But beyond that, we'll say positive reinforcement, negative punishment. And the fundamental disagreement, regardless of all the emotional talk on the internet, is the use of negative reinforcement and positive punishment in the training. And the inflammatory language that is used is that, okay, we cannot train with fear and with pain, while also simultaneously ignoring the fact that pain and fear are spectrums, just as pleasure is a spectrum. You can say, Haz, I really like your hat. And I'd be like, okay, thank you. And you could say, Haz, I love what you do. Here's $1 million. I'm going to be a lot more fucking happy about one of those things than the other, right? Like that's the spectrum that is pleasure. Pleasure is a gigantic spectrum, right? And it can accomplish a lot of things. Again, no one's disputing that. But pain and fear is also a gigantic spectrum. And just as we experience pleasure and animals experience pleasure, animals also experience pain and fear, because pleasure, pain, and fear all work together to inform us about the world around us, to guide us to behaviors that are productive for our survival and to avoid behaviors that are not productive for our survival. So my contention is, how can you train? And literally, it's kind of like literally saying like you can smell and you can hear, but you're not allowed to see anymore. It's like, how can you train like that? How does that make any sense from the animal's perspective? And I would say the most ethical thing is for your training to make sense and to yield results, because the only reason it yields results is because it makes sense. If it didn't make sense, like the animal wouldn't do it, right? So like my contention is, how can you ascribe moral virtue to just pleasure? Well, saying fear and pain is inherently immoral and it should never be part of any training in any capacity because it's immoral, even though it is a biological imperative that actually increases the chances of survival and thriving, right, in the world. But both animals and humans experience. And I would argue that there's very few human pursuits that are worthwhile that don't involve some level of fear and pain. But I yield the floor.
I guess it shouldn't be written like that, because obviously like the outside world is going to do something, right? If they step on a rock, that's pain. You know, it exists in the world and it exists in training with us too, just not the same way. Like you said, it's like a spectrum.
Yes. So like
right?
That's my point. I mean, we can argue about we can argue about like, look, how much pain is okay and how much fear is okay. We can have that argument. But I would say, okay, like, do you believe in vaccinating dogs?
Do I?
Yes. Like from puppies onward.
No.
Or maybe a better question to ask would be, do most force-free positive only trainers agree that vaccinating dogs is a good idea?
No, most don't.
Really? That's not what I've heard.
Yeah.
You don't believe in vaccines.
Well, we get the puppy core.
Okay.
So
This is a vaccine. So like you don't believe in like vaccines, like the the puppy shots, whatever. Like we're not talking about all the vaccines. I'm saying like you agree that vaccinating dogs in some capacity, whether it's just the puppy shots or whatever it is that you believe, like do you believe in that in any capacity? Do most force-free trainers believe in that?
I mean, the ones I know believe that, they're more holistic. So they
So
like,
no puppy shots, no parvo shot, nothing.
no, just the puppy. Okay, personally, just the puppy shots.
Okay, so we agree in the pot. Okay,
And
whatever.
nothing after that.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Again, I think that varies from person to person, but okay. Do you believe in spay and neuter or no? And I legitimately don't know, so I'm curious.
Personally, I don't.
Okay.
But because my family is super irresponsible and we have a male and a female, we got them altered.
Okay. So would you agree that the vaccines and the spay and neuter, the dog experienced some level of pain, fear, and discomfort in those processes?
Well, yeah, of course.
Okay. And why did you still elect to move forward with those things if they're so morally reprehensible, like the pain and the fear? It's so morally reprehensible. Why did you believe that it was okay to move forward with that, with those procedures?
Better than death.
Thank you. That's why we train the way we train. Because literally, on a regular basis, we have people call us and say, this is the last chance for the dog. If he does not stop biting me, if he does not stop attacking other dogs, we're going to have to give him up or he's going to get put down. One of those two things. And usually when you turn that dog into the shelter, they're not dealing with that stuff. He's getting put down, right? Especially a city shelter. So for us, good training is not just about flexing on Instagram. I don't mind doing it, by the way, but like it's not just about flexing on Instagram. Good training is literally the quality of life for the dog, right? Like, is he going to live a high quality of life where he experiences a lot of like enriching things like off-leash freedom, so on and so forth? Are we going to be able to fix the behavioral problems that could either really limit his life or get him killed legitimately? And if we can't do those things, right, why in God's name would we say that training using, like, for me, by the way, for instance, like if you brought me your dog and you're like, look, Haz, like this dog keeps trying to like bite people as I pass them on the road, right? For sure, I would train the dog and so on and so forth. But you better believe that I am going to positively punish the dog for going after people, right? And I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to get that dog to stop going after people. And there's going to be some fear and maybe some pain, depending on what I do, right? In the short term, in order for in the long term, the dog to be like, all right, yeah, we don't go after people anymore. Because I can't sit the dog down and be like, hey, bro, like, you can't go and try to eat people anymore. And, like you're going to get killed. Like they're literally going to put you down if you don't stop doing this, right? Like you can't have that discussion. But I can communicate to him the way an animal communicates, right? Like on the spectrum that is dog. And I can say, hey, man, like, this behavior is always going to yield this result. And I'm going to use the biological functions that he has of fear, of pain, and also of pleasure to reinforce the correct behavior and teach him to avoid the wrong behavior. So I don't understand really, like no one's been able to cohesively explain it to me. What is morally reprehensible about that?
So, I mean, if you think about, I don't know which way I want to take this. I mean, we wouldn't put a dog in a situation like that to fix it.
Okay, like whatever you do. Okay, so like whatever you do. My contention is that if the dog truly wants to go after people, right? There's no level of arousal that there's no level of positive reinforcement that you're going to be able to use to get them to stop inherently self-satisfying with that behavior. Because like dogs do things because they get something out of it. Like no dog just does things to do things. Like they get something out of it, right? So like if the dog is afraid, right? The dog is afraid, and I think this is a big piece that positive only trainers miss. If the dog is afraid, right? The dog seeks to avoid the thing they fear by either fight, flight, or freeze, right? And the dogs that are aggressive in many cases, they have chosen fight. So their solution to the thing that makes them afraid, right, is to be aggressive, right, is to fight. Now, I know the positive only trainer contention is that, okay, we'll just make him not afraid. But if you understand anything about genetics, you understand that he's inherently afraid. Very unlikely something bad actually happened to him. More than likely, it's a genetic predisposition that he has to be afraid. And his genetic predisposition is driving him to offer that reactive aggressive behavior in a forward way, right? That is yielding that result. And that, because he's wired that way inside, he's actually getting something out of that behavior. It's not just, I'm terrified, leave me alone. It's also, I'm terrified, but also, wow, this feels fucking good, right? And there are a lot of dogs like that inherently get something out of those types of behavior. And then there's some types of dogs, they would just literally like to attack another dog or a person because they find that intrinsically enjoyable, far more than any kind of liver or tug toy is going to experience, right? Is going to bring, because it's an inherent desire within the dog. It is part of their genetic predisposition to offer those behaviors. So I fail to see, right? And forgive me if that doesn't make sense to you, but I fail to see how you're going to positive your way out of those behaviors that are inherently driving the dog to perform those things.
I mean, if the dog is afraid, I would just put it in a center.
Yeah. Why would the dog go in the center? The dog has a choice, right?
Well,
like,
yeah, you make
this guy's here. I'm over threshold. I'm in a state of arousal now. I'm over threshold. This guy got too close to me. He looks sketchy. Maybe I haven't seen a guy with a hood like that before. Maybe just today's a bad day. I'm over threshold. I'm going, right? You say center, right, which he learned to do for like hot dogs or whatever. He's going to pick that over the genetic predisposition that he has to react to that feeling that he has with that forward behavior.
Yeah.
We must have we must have very different experiences. I'll take this dog, for instance, right? Like this dog right here. If you said to me, Haz, I will get Chico to stop biting sleeves with hot dogs and a ball. Do you think you could do that?
Absolutely not.
It's the same. It's the same.
It's not.
It's 100% the same, because you're saying I can convince him to not do this thing because I've got something, and I'm going to block him. I'm going to teach him, like some coping mechanism or whatever, instead of going after, this thing that he finds he's predisposed genetically to do, right? I'm going to stop him with positive reinforcement. I'm going to counter condition. I'm going to do all this stuff. We're going to do all these protocols. But ultimately, when Chico has a choice, he's going to pick me over that sleeve. And you even agree, like, that's not what's going to happen. So my contention to you, I would say that let's extrapolate that now. Why would it work for other dogs, but not for him? Because dogs are all the same. I mean, they might have some different levels of drive and physical and mental sensitivity, so on and so forth, but they do fundamentally operate on the same wavelength, right? Like the communication works with them.
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how long did you spend negatively reinforcing and positively reinforcing him to do, like, to bite?
He came out of the womb wanting to bite because we bred them like that. Like, you know, with a good working line German Shepherd, you don't have to really be like, hey, man, like, you got to do this. Like, if they're crap, yeah. But, like, if they're good and he's like a world level dog, they love it. Like, it's like they're, if anything, we got to get them not to do it as much, right? Like, they love it. So, like, they come out of the womb like I couldn't get, just so that we're clear, if you brought me your pet dog, whatever that is, I could not get that dog to perform the way Chico does, no matter how much time you gave me with that dog, because it's just the genetics aren't there, right? Like, not people that don't breed dogs really don't understand, or people that don't train a lot of dogs really don't understand. But genetic predisposition is the largest component to behavioral predisposition, right? Like most dogs that are doing something, it's because there's some level of inherent genetic predisposition to that behavior. So, like, I could never make your pet dog do what he does. Right? Not even close. So I would say that it wouldn't matter. Like by 6 months, he was nuts to like, you know, bite and, you know, bark at the decoy, direct a lot of arousal, you know, do all that type of stuff. Right? And most good working line German Shepherds are. But I'm just using this as an example of like, okay, this is a dog that is predisposed to do these things. Like he's predisposed to bite. He's predisposed to love balls, right? All that stuff. But, you know, but I would say that despite those predispositions, right? Like all dogs have predispositions. Let me fix the screen here. All those dogs have predispositions, right? So like that's the whole problem, is that dogs are doing things, whether it's aggression, resource guarding, whatever, because there's a predisposition in them to do it. And they are getting inherent satisfaction out of those behaviors. It's not something that, for the most part, they feel like I have to do this, but I don't really want to do this. If a dog didn't really want to do something, but it was kind of just like acting out, right? Then you could make the argument that like with just positive reinforcement and some, you know, reconditioning, you could change the behavior. But most dogs are not performing like that. I know we like to believe that like every dog's been abused and whatever else, but that's not the case.
I mean, yes, I understand you can't, like I said earlier, you can't change genetics.
Mm-hmm.
But you can work with them. So like your dog would be kind of out of my depth for, you know, training it to be with a regular family, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
but I'm just using him as an example. I'm not one of these people that's like, okay, like we can positive only train like all the normal dogs, but only the crazy working dogs don't need it. I don't believe that. Either something is a best practice or it's not. You know what I mean? Like either something works or it doesn't. Either something is good or it's not, right? We can argue about the level. Like obviously the amount of pressure that I use when I work with him is significantly more than I would use on like a more normal dog, because like they just don't process things the same way. That like, of course, but the fundamental rules of our communication are the same because they either work or they don't. Like I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, I got a Rottweiler, so it's like way different than a German Shepherd or, you know, a Maltipoo or whatever. It's like a dog is a dog is a dog, right? We can, again, different levels of drive, different levels of, you know, confidence, so on and so forth, but still a dog. Either something works or it doesn't. So like, I don't even want to make it about Chico. I was just using him as an example of a dog that really inherently wants to do something. And you agreed that you could not get him to stop doing that thing with the tools at your disposal, right? And I would say there's like not a single positive only trainer in the world that would ever get him to stop doing what he wanted to do, because his level of inherent desire and drive to do that thing and the satisfaction he gets out of it, you could never come close to it with anything that you have, right? But I will say that it's the same in other contexts, whether it's reactive behavior, resource guarding, so on and so forth, right?
not really. Because like, I don't know, crazy sports dogs who are like go, 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 I find are in a different state, right, than the fearful ones. Like, it doesn't hit the same dopamine when they're fearful and jump or like lunge or try to bite.
No, there's no dopamine involved in those behaviors for the most part. Those behaviors are they're a function of arousal, and usually there's actually tons of cortisol involved in those behaviors, right? But like, or adrenaline, they get huge adrenaline dumps, dogs that are in states of that are reacting out of fear. But it's still a gigantic reaction that overwhelms the dog's ability to think about things. The dog reacts. It's a predisposed reaction to the stimuli, right? You cannot change that in any kind of meaningful way with just positive reinforcement and negative punishment, because those stimuli triggers are inherent within the dog. They're genetic, right? You can't change genetics, as you've already said, for the most part, right? So my contention is that form of communication that you have limited yourself to also limits the dog and limits the outcomes, right? Which is why I can show myself with my sport dog competing, or I can show myself with my sport dog walking down, the strip at Fort Lauderdale, or I can, I have clients that they're, we already saw some of the videos, like dudes walking down the thing with like crowds of people walking by, right? Like, we can do that stuff because we've not limited ourselves to a myopic spectrum of communication. We've actually opened ourselves and our dogs to everything. And we've said, no, we're not going to say we're just going to take this and hope that the dog works within this. We're going to take everything and we're going to train in a way that accomplishes the result quickly, because it's not, I think, inherently ethical to take forever to accomplish something, especially something that leads to the freedom of the dog and the overall mental well-being of the dog. But B, that we are going to train in a way that is best practice. And the reason why it's best practice is shown in the results, and it's shown in our ability to stop these behaviors. It's shown in our ability to take these dogs off leash and exhibit high levels of impulse control, and all these things that functionally make a dog's life better. And that inherently makes what we're doing a morally appropriate thing, right? So that would be my position.
No, I don't. Like, it's not the same.
Like, what's not the same?
Like, a lot of the things you're saying are like, other than using punishment or is exactly how a force-free trainer would train.
What do you mean? Like, I'm speaking across like this. I'm saying that we're using negative reinforcement, we're using positive punishment, as well as positive reinforcement and negative punishment. We're using everything. We're doing it all, but you guys aren't.
That's a common misconception. Like, it's literally impossible to only do R+.
Okay, I acknowledge that you guys are doing negative punishment, but negative punishment still fundamentally relies on the dog wanting what you've got more than what they want, more than they wanting something else in the environment. So, like, hypothetically, if I had his ball and I said, listen, Fido, you can either go after that dog or you can get your ball, right? And he's like, all right, I'm going after that dog. And I was like, nope, no ball for you, right? He still got to go after that dog. The punishment of no ball for you is not enough to stop him from going after that dog, because he's going to get more out of that dog than he is out of the ball. And I know I used it in a behavioral context. Of course, you can use it in an obedience context where you say sit and he doesn't sit and you don't give him the ball until he sits and you have him do it again. But one is under a much lower level of arousal and competing motivation. The other one's under a significantly higher one. And that's why it doesn't work. Like, no one's arguing that you can't train a dog to like sit and do basic obedience in a relatively quiet place for treats and for play and so on and so forth. Like, no one's arguing that. That's why I always say, like, when people I'm like, show the work, and then they always show the work in a fucking field by themselves or like in their backyard or whatever. And I'm like, that's not the work. The work is where the clients are in the real world, right? So like my thing is that whatever training gets us to the real world and gets us successful in the real world ASAP is the most viable and effective form of training and the most ethical form of training. Because anything else is like, I know a lot of dogs that, quite frankly, like they come to us from force-free training in the past or whatever else. And like the dog was like 1 year doing session after session, and the dog is still on a muzzle, and the dog is still can't get within 30 feet of another dog. And they tried SSRIs, and they're doing all this stuff, and it just doesn't work because it's not, the dog goes over threshold, finish, right? And that's because you're not communicating across the entire spectrum of communication that exists for dogs, for people, and for all animals on this earth. And my contention is that is actually the unethical thing.
No, because a lot of us train in like the area that the dogs are, right? So we're wherever the client is, right? So we're in their literal, like little real world, and we would work like that, right? But we don't use an e-collar or a prong, because you can do the same thing on a harness or a collar.
Well, I would say you couldn't. And I haven't seen any examples of that. Like I haven't seen someone's like, look, this dog's reactive. Boom, he's not reactive anymore. And he's walking on the street and we passed like 6 strange dogs. Like I've seen the thing where they keep the dog in the same room with another dog, and through the process of habituation and, you know, a lot of food, they get the dog over the reactivity with that specific dog. But we all know the second they go on the street and another dog runs at him, barks or lunges at him or whatever, he's going to go over threshold and default back to the old behavior because you've never actually inhibited that behavior, right? Like that's what we're talking about. And that's what I mean. It's like, no, there's like, quite frankly, like if you could tell me, I would love to look, but like I've never seen, right? Like for instance, if I go on a balance trainer's page, like that's like halfway decent, you know, like they don't have to be that good, right? Like I'm not going to name names, but whatever, right? Like you go on my page, right? Like you're going to see tons of training, like out there in the real world doing things, right? Like when I go on force-free trainer pages or positive only pages, they're like always by themselves, or the dog's wearing a fucking muzzle, or like there's always like a limitation on the dog. The dog is like never like look, he's in the real world being a good boy after he was trying to eat people as they pass. You will never see that, and you don't see that. And there's like, and I always hear like, oh, it's because it's boring or whatever else, but we just don't see it. And in this day and age where we all have a phone, it just doesn't make any sense to me that like you couldn't at least just video the beginning and be like, okay, aggressive Rottweiler. Okay, not aggressive Rottweiler passing by numerous strange people on the street, you know, just as a hypothetical example. It's like, you don't see it. And my contention is that you don't see it because it doesn't exist. And maybe if you could point me to some of those, I would appreciate it.
I mean, I can go look. I don't have any.
Even in general, like there should be like I can go to any balance trainer's page, like I said, that's half decent, and I'll find like a whole bunch of examples. Like there'll be more examples than I could ever go over. You know what I mean? Like, because it's just like they show it so much. Like I show it, they show it, right? And it's like, why is there so much evidence available that this type of training works and yields these results, like these stark behavioral changes in the dog, creates reliability in the obedience, so on and so forth. And then the other side, it's like the dog's like on a harness attached to a leash, you know, still kind of like pulling or like half asleep walking next to the handler, but never off the leash. And it's like, bro, like I want to see it. I want to see it work. I think if you guys had like all this evidence that it worked, like no one would be like there would be no arguments. Like, okay, yeah, that worked. Like we can see it working, you know? And it's like, why do you think that there's not a preponderance of evidence that it works?
I mean, I know personally, I always forget to take them. And like,
even not you, forget you, like somebody else. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, you're a professional dog trainer. So like one would assume that there'd be a lot of videos of you guys like training dogs. Like my clients, for instance, like I got a lot of clients that are reactive, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to show people that I can help reactive dogs. Like, look, Fluffy's reactive. Look, now Fluffy's not reactive. Also, Fluffy not reactive in the real world, not just in my facility, right? So like, that's something that it's relatively easy to show, and it makes sense because it tells the clients like, hey, like this guy actually knows what he's doing, or these guys know what they're doing. And that's why me and like a lot of other trainers will have it, or like, hey, like, you know, you can walk, you know, you don't have to use a leash, right? Like you can walk your dog off leash, right? And it's like, and you know, people are, oh, why do you need to use the e-collar? It's like, bro, you think like clients don't care if they have to use an e-collar, right? It's like, boom, just put it on the dog's neck and now my dog can be off leash, right? If I follow your training method, the dog can be off leash. Holy crap. Sure. Yeah, that's awesome, right? I don't have to get dragged around on this leash anymore. I can cut my dog loose anywhere and call him and he'll come back to me. Like that's a dream come true. So like, that's why this type of training is really taking off. And so many people are like, you know, interested in it. And so many people are, you know, like following it. And yet you guys on the force-free positive only side are like, no, we can do all of that without the pain and the fear, right? But there's never any evidence. Like I would say, like any positive only trainer that could show what just I show, forget anybody else. If they could just show what I show, they would be so fucking rich, because that is a great thing to sell clients. Like, listen, you don't have to do like, you're just going to like, we're just going to do these protocols and you're just only going to give your dog positive experiences, and all the way the dog is going to cope with the whole everything, fear, aggression, whatever. It's going to be all, you know, positive experiences and conditioning protocols, so on and so forth. Like, that's great. Like, why wouldn't people sign up for that? Right? In great droves. All you have to do is show it.
I mean, I think they're all behind paywalls.
Oh, come on. I have a paywall too, right? Like I sell online courses. I sell a lot of online courses, but like I still show results. I don't have to hide results behind a paywall. In fact, the more results I show, the more people want to go to the paywall. Fun free business fact for you. The more results you show, the more people are going to go to the paywall and sign up, right? Like that's fundamentally it. So like, again, you know, like my contention, and I haven't, no offense, but I just haven't heard any argument that like the holistic way to train and the balanced way to train is the most ethical. It is the most humane because it functions along the lines that, you know, it functions along the natural way that the dog communicates and thinks, right? And that anything other than that, it just doesn't make sense for the dog. And that's why the results don't make the same sense, right?
Well, I'll agree that the color is quicker.
Why is it quicker?
From punishment. No, like negative reinforcement.
Okay. But why? Why is it quicker? You just said a quadrant, right?
Yeah, no,
So fear, so the dog being afraid, right, yields a faster result. That's your contention. A faster, more reliable result.
yeah.
Okay. So if that is the case, right, then if we've agreed that using like a tool like an e-collar in training can expedite the training process, and that the dog is only afraid, right, because like they have the e-collar, they're in a state of fear, and that's why they're doing things faster. Would dogs wearing e-collars always like just based on that, you know, presupposition, right, or that proposal, would the dog just not look like afraid all the time because they're afraid, right? Like that's the only reason they're doing what they're doing.
I mean, yeah, when it,
So the dogs always look afraid on the e-collar? Careful now, I got videos.
I mean, all the ones I've seen.
Oh boy. All right.
He's not a dog. Has the him, and it actually works. Open, open, push. Right? Obviously, the dog is still working for the negative reinforcement. Right? The negative reinforcement is the most powerful quadrant that we're operating within.
Is this dog afraid? I literally show myself using the e-collar. By the way, the e-collar is on the highest level for that dog. Is he afraid? Tell me the truth.
This one, no. But he's also working. What about when he's not working?
So you think he looks terrified when he's just like in normal life, like if he's just like walking around?
I mean, the videos I have seen. Yeah.
What video? Point me to it.
The one where you go near the fire.
That's not this dog. That's another dog. And yes, that dog was afraid of the fire. That had nothing to do with in fact, I used the e-collar to overcome the fear of the dog. But it's funny you mentioned that video. Give me 1 second. We'll pull that video up. I just happen to have it here.
Oh boy.
Man, I'm all about those videos because they tell the story. In this day and age, we don't have to have these discussions, you know. We don't have to like talk about things. We can show things and then discuss what we're actually seeing in real life. Let me share this video here. Where is it? There we go. Okay. That's how So like, this is us at, I'm sure you know where Blue Mountain is. This is us at Blue Mountain, just fooling around with our dogs in a public place, right? Yeah. Does my dog look at me? I'm drinking. I'm not engaging my dog or anything.
It's right? Not on the screen.
People ask me why I give him the ball to put in his mouth. It's because it's a slimy thing and I don't like carrying it myself. So I said, he likes carrying it. So why don't I have him carry it for me? But by the way, that's another dog. That's a different dog. So does he look like he's afraid in that video? Be honest with me, Kat.
I can't see the video.
Oh, you didn't see it?
No.
Son of a bitch. Here, let's put it back up. Sorry. We going again. The whole time I thought I had shared it. Here we go.
Oh, wow. This is great.
Okay. That's my dog that you're speaking about. There you go.
This is what real functional control looks like, kids. Anywhere, everywhere. With me?
And we're at Blue Mountain here, right? Oh,
down.
Very busy spot. We're just fooling around with our dogs, right?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yep.
Let's
all right. I'll do mine when
let's go forward here.
And boom.
So like you can see here,
they're in
I'm
just
not
like
engaging with
crazy
stuff.
stuff.
By the way, like
there was a video before.
Like, and this is again
dogs are just like
contentions that I have with like you force-free people. It's like you believe that you must always engage with the dog. And for me, it's like, no, like I'm gonna walk with a coffee, a phone in my hand. I'm gonna walk like a normal person, and my dog should walk next to me, right? And like that's the dog is what is the word? The dog is a complement to my life, right? I'm not with the dog. The dog is with me, and that's part of it. It's like I shouldn't have to be looking at him and giving him food all the time and worrying about what he's doing. He should just exist in this state next to me whenever I want him to, and if I want to cut him loose, I'll cut him loose. Right? Like to me, this is real functional control, right? Like, and again, you're saying that this dog looks like he's in a state of fear. Now, has he ever been afraid? Of course he's been afraid. Of course, like, you know, things freak him out. Things will make him nervous. Like, that's fine, right? We'll go actually right to the spot that you're talking about. Let's find it here. So
Come here. Yeah, he's a little worried about the fire. Look at this.
I noticed we had passed by this fire, and he's never been close to a bonfire before, and it was like crackling and like snapping like a fire does. And like I saw, he was worried about it.
With me.
So actually, this is how I work the dog through fear, and I use.
I'm going to use the e-collar. With me. I'm going to use the e-collar. I've actually never really had him around like down. I'll put this away. This is.
And you notice that I took the positive, like I took the ball out of the picture. Actually,
we're going to put the leash on. Actually, sit, and I'm going to use the e-collar. And I'm going to teach him.
Look at him.
That he can handle being close to the fire.
But your contention that the e-collar caused the fear is obviously unfounded, because I just showed the dog prior to the issue with the fire showing a very normal, confident demeanor. Would you agree?
I mean, not when you weren't working him.
What do you mean working him? I'm walking and I'm drinking a coffee and he's next to me. What's working? He's just walking. He's with me. If you think if I cut him loose and he's just running around like completely loose there, like he would be like worried. Of course, he'd be like more open, actually, because like he'd be free to do whatever the hell he wanted. So like you think like when I just like free dog, that's when he's afraid, but not when he's next to me.
No, because he's like when you were walking, he's still on edge.
On edge. I'm sorry. Like, so you're saying he's afraid here. Should I rewind? Like, you're saying he's afraid, like, here.
Boom.
He's like afraid.
You're in just like crazy stuff. Never even
Yeah,
been here
and
before.
there's a couple of moments when he
The
drops
dogs are
back
just like,
pretty
no
far.
problem. Yeah.
If your contention, and I'm going to tell you this, Kat, like if your contention, if this is a terrified dog, right?
Well, not a terrified dog. So obviously, he's not so scared. He's going to like run into the ocean.
So he's in a state of fear right now. Is he or is he not? Like, is he afraid or is he not?
He's over aroused.
He's over aroused. I'm not arousing him. He's just walking next to me. I mean, you could say that he's a dog that has a higher level of arousal naturally. That's true. What should I do? Should I beat that out of him?
Well,
You're not going to stop him. You're not going to stop him from being aroused. Like he's always an aroused kind of dog. Like he's a dog that naturally has a bit of a higher arousal. So it's like, again, but your contention, the reason we brought this dog up, I didn't bring him up. You brought him up, right? You said he was scared because of the e-collar, right? But your contention is that they're not scared when they're working with the e-collar, but they're scared like in normal life with the e-collar, which wouldn't make sense because the e-collar would be used more when the dog is working. I'm sure you would agree with that. So then why wouldn't they be more scared then, but not like it just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, at some point, well, at some point of arousal, nothing really like bothers them, which is why they can run into porcupines.
Okay, so you're saying that he's just always running at the highest state of arousal. So like your contention is right now, I cannot bring up a dog that's in a lower state of arousal that has a normal body language wearing an e-collar, that dog would look afraid. Like we don't even have to use this dog. But by the way, I think the fascinating thing about this clip that you brought up is that I can show me, and I love that you mentioned it, because I can show me working this dog. I showed the fear, by the way. I could have easily cut that out, but the dog got afraid of the fire. Of that, I actually identified it, and I said, hey, to my video guys, like, oh, great, he's scared of something. I'm going to show people what I do, what I'm going to do in this situation for the fear, right? And let me see here. That was not the beginning of that. And this kind of flies in the face of this whole idea that like, negative reinforcement is just like, or using the e-collar in training is just like fear, right? So here you can see me using a combination of the e-collar and the leash. And you can see that the dog is actually in a state. This is fear, by the way, when you see him like, and it's not a major fear. This is actually like more of a minor fear. But like you can see, he's pushing into me to avoid the fire. He licks his lips. His tail is actually a lot less active. See, that's what a dog that's like afraid looks like. And by the way, this actually kind of destroys your entire argument, because there the dog actually did get scared. Like he got scared. And what happened to his arousal? His arousal, that you say, oh, he's always aroused. Okay, well, his arousal actually disappeared. And it wasn't sufficient to carry him through that, because he's actually there not in a high level of arousal, because I'm drinking a coffee, I'm not engaging him. If I was to engage him and make him active, right, which I would do in a competition, of course, his arousal level would be much higher. But like I told you, I walk like that for an hour, right? So like the dog is just there. So if his arousal was so much that he would like go and bite a porcupine, like you said, then he wouldn't have cared about the fire, because he would just be in a high state of arousal. But the fire freaked him out. He got scared. He fell apart, right? He didn't want to go anywhere close to the fire. So I put the leash on him and I worked him, right? And you know how I worked him. I didn't hide anything here, right? Like I used the leash and I used the e-collar in combination, and I tapped him, right? There's Carson in the back clowning with his dog, right? But I tapped him frequently, right? And then I added the positive reinforcement back into the equation, because when a dog is in a state of fear, you cannot get the dog through the fear exclusively with the positive reinforcement. It actually teaches them, it never teaches them how to actually deal with the fear. When you use the negative reinforcement, it actually pushes the dog to deal with the fear. It's kind of like when you don't want to jump off of like a high place, like a high diving board or whatever, and you're like, I can't do it. I just can't force myself to do it because I'm so scared of this height. Even though maybe intellectually you know that you'll be fine, you'll land in the water. You get your friends to give you a little shove, right? Okay, push me off this one time. Boom. Oh, wow, I did it. I'm okay. Okay, the next one I'll do on my own. It's the exact same thing. And the negative reinforcement, again, negative reinforcement, like we already said, pain is a spectrum. Pain can be this, right? That's minor discomfort. And pain can be that, right? Like pain is a complete. So just saying like, oh, you train with pain. It's like, well, yeah, that in that case, I just tapped him repeatedly. And I was like, I'm here. It's okay. Do it. And he's like, okay, I'm doing it. And I was like, all right, good boy. Now you can handle the positive reinforcement, because now is the time for the positive reinforcement, because now you're forcing yourself to do it. And positive reinforcement, now it's like doubled up. Now we used all the quadrants to get the dog quickly over something he's afraid of. Instead of me spending like, I don't know, 3 fucking days working on this problem, right? I banged it out in literally like 10 minutes. And again, your camp would suggest that what I did was unethical. But yet I identified a place where the dog was struggling. I identified a fear that he had, and I showed him how to overcome it. So like using literally the thing that you guys say is the evil thing to do, because it just creates a generalized state of fear. So how can I use fear to overcome fear? It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
By flooding?
Okay, so I flooded him. And yet, okay, let's assume, okay, we'll go with that. I flooded him, right? Now, when you looked at his body language afterwards, right? We went from avoidance, right, to this, right? We went from avoidance to that. And he was willing also to take positive reinforcement from me, which dogs that are in a state of terror do not do, right? We went from complete avoidance to that. What's the problem? What is the ethical problem with that? And by the way, I have no problem with flooding.
I can see that. I mean, like, you're not giving him an exit, so you're like,
why would I give a fearful dog an exit before he's ready to deal with the fear? Now you would notice, by the way, that he was off the leash there. So if he wanted to run away, he could have, but he chose not to.
he chose not to because he knew you wanted him there.
Right. But that's part of it for sure. But in the beginning, he knew I wanted him there. He saw the fire. It stimulated the fear. his arousal dropped off completely and he went into avoidance and went behind me and didn't want to go there. And he knew I wanted him there from the beginning. Like, that's never changed, right? But he was unable to do it. He just couldn't do it. He was like, I can't do it. I'm too scared.
Have you gone back since?
To Blue Mountain? No, but I've been around other fires before and we don't have a problem. Not that I really cared, to be honest, whether my dog wants to be close to a burning fire or not. It's not a big problem for me one way or the other. But like, again, the point is that I showed a result in a very short period of time using the thing that you say is bad, right? And also, the thing that happened in this moment also just proves your theory that the dog was in a constant state of fear, that his arousal was pushing him through. But yet here he saw something that actually did make him scared and his arousal disappeared and he wasn't able to do it. And then I used the thing that you said is the evil thing, right, to get him through it. And then he was able to perform and function. So like, my point is that like the actual results in the field are not justifying the things that you're saying. Right?
Yeah, but quick results happen for pretty much, anytime you're caused fear and pain.
So your contention is that if you just cause fear, like good things happen.
I mean, I'd avoid it if you kept bringing, I don't know, no, I'm not afraid of those. If you kept throwing like ladybugs at me when I did something, I'd stop doing it.
We're not talking about avoiding. We're talking about reinforcing. Like we're like, there was avoidance here that we fixed. Actually, we didn't want him to avoid. We're not trying to make him avoid the fire. We want him to not avoid the fire and to be able to stay next to me when he walks in close proximity to a fire. So like, that's not a good example.
This is one of those just because it works doesn't mean it's ethical.
What is unethical about it? Can you point me to like the specific moral issue with what I did? The dog was afraid of the fire. I got him not afraid of the fire in approximately like 5 minutes.
I mean, you also forced him to be there and deal with it.
Sure. Should I have let him run away? Would that have been ethical?
Well, you don't let him run away either.
No, but should I have? Would that have been ethical?
No, that wouldn't have been ethical.
So if I can't let him run away, then what should I do? Should I let him just like be in this state of like helpless, like fear, like I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it? Like that's the ethical thing to do?
No.
No, right? Like, and I would say the same, by the way, if like my child was like unreasonably afraid of something, I would do the same thing. I'd take him by the hand and be like, all right, buddy, we're doing this together, right? Because there's nothing to be afraid of here. And I'll help him and I'll show him you can do it, you can do it, you can do it until he does it on his own, because that would be an ethical thing to do. I wouldn't be like, all right, buddy, like it's up to you. If you want to stay in this state of fear and insecurity, I'm not going to help you out of it. No, I'm going to be like, no, we're going to do it together. We'll do it together until you're not scared. Because that feeling that when I'm sure you've been in that situation, when you were scared to do something, you were apprehensive of doing something, you pushed yourself to do it. And that feeling of empowerment, or someone pushed you to do it, that feeling of empowerment you get after is like, man, like I did this. Like I did it. Like I can do it. Like that feeling that you get. Maybe some people don't experience that because they never put themselves in those places where it's like, I'm like stressed. I'm worried. Like, I'm not sure if I can do this. I'm actually scared shitless, but I force myself or someone helps me to do it. And then that feeling of empowerment, like I can do it. That belief, that self-belief, that empowerment, that's real empowerment. Like empowerment isn't something given to you. It's something that's earned. I would say it's the same for like animals, right? Like, especially like a dog or something, right? Like, so again, like I'm looking for the ethical problem with what occurred there.
I mean, I just told you it was flooding and not letting him have an exit.
But okay, like, so what's the alternative?
Leash him and walk around it.
I did. There was a leash.
Not,
what are you talking about?
Not that close.
So my moral problem that you have is how close I was to the fire.
No, that you forced him to deal with the fire.
So again, I ask you, lady, what is the alternative? The alternative is I don't address the fire at all, or I let him run away. And you said, no, you should still leash him up and make him go around it, but not as close. We're still doing the same thing. Your disagreement with me is like on the speed at which I did it, but it was still fundamentally the same thing. You explained, leash him up, take away his choice, and then walk him around it, even though he'd rather not do that.
Realistically, I wouldn't have done it. There's no reason to.
Well, fair enough. You know, that's good enough. I guess we'll leave it at that. But my contention is that, you know, this idea, I'll give you one more analogy and then we'll leave it. Okay. Because I know it's getting late for you. It's getting late for me. I'm going snowmobiling tomorrow. So I'm excited to do that. And,
that's exciting.
Yes, exactly. And I'll be scared at times because I'm going to be pushing. But anyways, my contention, right, is that, holy crap, did we lose it?
Lose what?
Did we lose the stream?
It says we're live.
Guys, just put a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me. All right, good. Okay. Whew. I thought we lost the stream. I was like, God damn it. We went so far here. Okay. All right. I guess we'll summarize it at this. You're going to make a video for me as we discussed earlier so that I know that you're about it, right? And you're going to make that video and post it. And if that video's kosher, right, like it's some approximation of what we discussed, we're going to move forward. We'll schedule pick up at a shelter and we'll do something like that. I don't actually know of a shelter. We're going to have to figure that out and pick one that'll let us kind of pick from their available inventory. You know, I don't want to get involved in some big, long adoption process. That's going to be very annoying. I want to be able to walk in there, be like that one and that one. Let's go. Right. So we're going to have to figure that out. But again, that's all assuming that the video that you provide for me is kosher. Because again, I do really want a real challenge. But all that being said, I don't know, is there anything you want to leave the people with?
I mean, not really.
Not really? Okay. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to wait for Kat's video in the Facebook thread. As you guys know, I'm very much, I like to be very transparent about everything. And so I'm going to leave. I left that thread up. I left all her comments up. I would ask that she just post it as a brand new, because it's such a long thing. Just post it as a brand new comment, my video submission for the challenge. And then we'll all see it. And then we can go from there. I would just ask that you make sure, please, that it is along the lines of what I asked, which is like, you know, the off leash in a busy public place with your personal dog. Yeah. Yeah, I think other than that, I mean, we've said it all and we've put forward our positions, and I think it was a good chat. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, you have a fantastic evening, and I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'll get that video done as soon as I can after the holidays.
Excellent. Okay, well, you have a fantastic rest of your holidays. See you later. Bye-bye. All right, guys. Well, that's that. Mitch goes, I'm converted, going force-free. Mitch. Yeah, that was a good one. It was a long discussion, but I don't know. I think we kind of maybe I said what I needed to say, that's for sure. And you know, it was a good discussion. I think we're going to wrap it up on that one, guys. I got to get ready for a different experience now. I'm not going to train dogs for a little bit, but I hope you guys enjoyed the holidays. Oh, Boxing Day sale. Boxing Day sale. It's on now. Shield K9 online, 40% off. Boxing Day 40. All one word.